I learned that men who have a dad bod type physique, which would be higher deposits of gut fat, they are judged by both men and women as being better fathers. You think, hang on a second, how is it that a guy that has a dad bod, like, oh, the dad bod thing's actually real, but it's real in reverse. It's not that dad bods are attractive, it's that dad bods make better dads. The reason for this, it seems, is that both men and women look at a guy who has a dad bod and they see somebody who has fewer doors open to him where he could spend calories that he gets. So if you have some guy that's good looking and in really great shape and that man has a wife or a partner ancestrally and a couple of kids, he could spend any energy that he wants on them, but he might also be able to spend his energy chasing some other women around because he is sufficiently attractive to bring them in. However, the guy who has the dad bod presumably has fewer doors open to him where he could stray from what is family investment with regards to the calories. So men that have dad bods are perceived as being better fathers, mostly because they have fewer options open to them that they could stray from their family with.
So would it be, is it very specific to being fathers, or is it more specific to becoming fathers and essentially being a life partner because they trust them, their security?
Yes, that's interesting. I don't think that you're going to end up with women being more attracted to dads with dad bods because they see better future parental investment from them. I think that it's very difficult to bypass desire, right? Like, you're just attracted to what you're attracted to. And this is why when it comes to attraction, people can try and logically reason their way in or out of whatever it is that they want. Ultimately, you end up liking what you like, and it's very difficult to change that around. This is more other people's judgments of the father. However, I definitely think that there is an interesting argument to be made that I have a friend whose ex-girlfriend said to him when he was getting leaner, he trains in the gym a lot, and as he was getting leaner and getting into better and better condition, that she became less and less happy and less comfortable in their relationship. And she said, the happiest I ever was with you was when you were fat. And the reason for this presumably is that some partners, and this will be the same for both men and women, you know, if your partner has a glow up, there is something called mate value, which is your own and everybody else's subjective interpretation of your value within the mating market. If your mate value starts to increase, the partner, if they don't increase theirs along with you, will start to feel that delta between you, right? They're going to start to feel you pull away from them, and they're going to go, oh no, this is going to cause anxiety, especially if they've got anxious attachment. It's just going to cause all sorts of problems. So yeah, there is definitely an argument to be made that some relationships can be made to feel more secure if one of the partners is getting less attractive or becomes less attractive because it is more secure to the other one.
What's your experience been?
I don't really know about whether or not what I've done in terms of mate value has caused problems in relationships. I try and do quite a good job of making whoever it is that I'm with feel comfortable. So I try and compensate as hard as I can. But I mean, there's so many interesting things I learned recently about the birth control pill, hormonal birth control. Have you had a look at much of this about the psychological effects on women?
Oh my God. I mean, I was on it for 16 years and I'm not with any of those guys anymore. So I'm like, oh shit, maybe it did make me choose
maybe there's something to
ones. Yeah. It changes pheromones. And so it changes who I can't remember. It's the person, it's like the girl taking it chooses differently when she's on versus off, right? 100%. It doesn't have to do with the guy, it's the girl.
Well, both, it seems.
Both?
Yeah, so typically when we think about men and women, you have women are the gatekeepers and men are the protagonists, right? Like women are the supply and men are the demand when it comes to sex, for the most part. And this is, you know that this is the case because in gay relationships, there's no gatekeeper anymore, which is why gay men have tons and tons of sex. So it seems like women who are on hormonal birth control prioritize providers rather than protectors when it comes to mates. So they will look for a provisioning man, one who is higher in terms of monetary wealth and ability to gain resources, but will deprioritize masculinity, dominance, status, stuff like that. That means that women who are on birth control can prioritize a partner, and then when they come off birth control, find out that the things that they prioritized aren't any longer the things that they're bothered about. Self-reports from women that use Natural Cycles, which is a cycle tracking app, have said that their self-rated sexual satisfaction with partners, if they met them when they were on and are now off, is way down compared with women who met them when they were off and are now still off. And the reason being that they've prioritized for things that didn't necessarily sort of get them excited in the bedroom. Now, there is a mediator here, and it's whether or not the partner that the woman gets into a relationship with is attractive. Remembering that she hasn't been as bothered by his level of attractiveness when she first met him. But that doesn't mean that she didn't find an attractive partner. She still could have found a very attractive partner, but he was really good at provisioning, right? He was really good at earning money or doing whatever. Then she gets out of this hormonal birth control induced stupor, enters into the world and goes, oh, holy shit, I've got this really attractive partner. Let's have loads of sex. So it basically seems that some women had a better time and some had a worse time. But for the most part, you can have a woman that is attracted to you on birth control, comes off, and then the relationship doesn't work so well anymore, which is a bad time for both parties, I think.
There's so much in that area, especially with women, I feel like in various different things that we don't know about. I mean, just even the fact that you're not having a regular cycle, you're not having a cycle, you're having like a withdrawal bleed on it. I mean, women just don't know that. You know, you're put on it to regulate your hormones. Oh, if you have a regular period, just put you on that. And they're like basically just taking it away.
What was your experience of coming off it like?
Everything was very normal for like 6 months. And then I met someone, I dated him for about a year. Health stuff got pretty wonky after about 6 months. Hormones, thyroid, all kinds of various different symptoms, gut, you name it. It's been a pretty big roller coaster. So I feel like it's detrimental. I mean, probably to what level, I don't know yet.
Well, it's a massively difficult conversation, right? Let's say that you've got a daughter who's 12 or 13 years old. You know that she's going to become sexually active within the next 5 years or something like that. So you go, okay, do I want to roll the dice with my daughter who definitely doesn't have the same amount of life experience about being safe and protection and stuff like that than I do as someone who's been around for a lot longer? Do I want to roll the dice by not putting her on birth control, or do I want to put her on birth control knowing that I'm condemning her to this very different, very unhappy psychological profile? And one of the really worrying things is that it seems like girls that are going through puberty who go on birth control, because their brains are at this formative stage of development, you can lock in changes to the brain that are irreversible when you come off birth control.
Okay, well then let's have a bit more of a philosophical conversation about, I've been thinking about this myself, like there's really only a few days during the month you can get pregnant. Let's call them 5 or so days that you're fertile. And sex is just something that's just can happen, right? It's just like, it's like tagged as women's freedom and liberation to be able to do what you want when you want. But what if it's a complete like cultural reframing where it goes to something that isn't just every day, any day, whenever you want? Like, can't there, I feel like if there was a conversation and a cultural shift around how it's perceived and when you do it, like all of a sudden, like abstinence makes the heart grow fonder. Imagine when you have to make someone wait, it's so great, even yourself. So what if now it just became this really like much more like valuable, rare thing? It would be so much better.
Are you proposing that the entire world limit having sex to just when women are ovulating?
Yeah. No, when they're not, unless they want to have a baby. Like,
oh, right. So okay. So you mean, okay, right. But what would be the reason for that other than just for protection? Like,
you wouldn't have to be on birth control, right? So you'd be much more safe from a pregnancy standpoint. So the narrative changes around sex to being something that's done, at specific times. You would now, as a woman, track your cycle more. You'd understand the 4 cycles of your cycle. Men would too, because you have it in a day, a 24-hour cycle.
Well, we'd be invested.
Yes, you'd understand.
We'd have to, yeah, because we want to get our underway. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think it would be an interesting experiment to try and run, but when people want it, they want it, and especially given the fact that women's sex drive, women's desire for more masculine men, women's desire for more dominance in men, for men with more masculinized faces, all of this stuff increases precisely during the time when you're telling them to not have sex. Like, the person that gets damaged the most by this philosophy, by your tyrannical new sex policy,
tyrannical, strong word,
is the people that are going to be the most damaged by this are the women, because when sex drive is highest, you're going to say, let's try and push this down. So that's going to be very difficult. But I mean, here's an interesting philosophical question, right? A difficult one, maybe. Should women, even if they're on birth control, have sex with men who they would not get into a relationship with, or who they would not marry?